Hey, how you doing? I'm Rick, and today we're going to be brewing a chocolate peanut butter stout. I was at work the other day, and I was asking guys, I want to brew this weekend, or next weekend, and you know, I don't know what to brew. I'd like to do something different. And one guy came up to me and he's like, you know, it'd be awesome, be like a Reese's Pieces stout. And I thought about that, and you know, I've never seen that before. I know a lot of people have tried to brew it, but I've never seen it in the stores or anything, and it may be out there, I don't know. But so I did a lot of research, and I found some recipes out there, and I used that to make my recipe. And I'll show you what we got working with here. I found this stuff online. It's called PB2. It's a peanut butter powder, and I've got some 100% cocoa powder. But this PB2 stuff, a lot of people said they tried to use, because if you use regular peanut butter, it's got all those oils in it, and it's just going to wreak havoc on your brew when you're in the fermentation stage. So I'm going to try this out. Some guys said they've used up to 6 cans of this stuff, and you can go to your local grocery store and get this stuff. It's like $4 or $5 for a can, or if you're crazy, you can go to like a health food store and they'll charge like $10 for a can. So yeah, go to your local grocery store. They'll usually have it. It'll either be in the health food section or with the peanut butter. Got all my brewing equipment here, chainsaw. Like I said before in my last video, El Paso water is like drinking water out of a pool, so I just go and buy spring water. But what we got here, we've got a 13 pounds of grain here. I've got some 2-row as the main grains. I've got some chocolate malt. I've got some roasted barley, and I've got some oats in there. So it should turn out pretty well. Right now we're bringing our mash water up to about 166 degrees, and we're going to pour that in there, add the grains, and let it mash for about an hour. Now, last week I brewed up a pre-prohibition lager, and my kegerator / mini fridge kind of took a dump on me, so got out in the garage, and it's down to about 55 degrees. It'll get a little lower and get to that temperature we need just sitting out here. And that's the thing, the old timers, they didn't have fridges and temperature controls to do their lagering. So if you need to, if you live in a climate where it gets cold in the winter, just put that bad boy out in the garage, and you can usually get down to your lagering temperatures. You'll have a little fluctuation of temperature, but don't worry about that. It usually works out pretty well from what I've heard. So we'll get back to you in a minute. No, since we're going to brew up a peanut butter chocolate stout, I went out and got me some chocolate stout beer. Figured if you're going to brew up a chocolate peanut butter stout, you might as well get something close to it and sip on it while you're brewing. Right here it is. It's actually quite delicious. So I recommend getting out in there and try some of this out. Alright, we've got our mash water, 166 degrees. And now we're just we mixed in our grains nice and slowly. And now we're going to just double check, make sure we get to our temperature we need to be. It should be about 152 degrees. And we're about 153 degrees, so we're right on the spot. So what we're going to do now is just let this sit in here, sorry for the steam, for about an hour, and then we'll sparge it. Alright, our grains have sat in here in the water, sparged in the mash water for an hour at 153 degrees. And for those of you that are new to brewing, the whole purpose of this is the water, you're pulling out all the fermentable sugars in order to create your wort, which will be boiled. You'll have your ingredients, and that's going to create your beer. What we got up here is our sparge tank. You got almost 5 gallons of 170-degree water, and what we're going to do is we're basically going to rinse these grains, and we're going to let it all pour out into our brewing kettle. All right, now we got the sparge water running through our grains. Got it running out into our brewing kettle. Got some nice wort there. Man, I'll tell you what though, this smells delicious, and it's gonna smell even more delicious once we add that peanut butter and cocoa powder. It's gonna be great. But when you're doing this, make sure you only want an inch or two above the grains here. Make sure you have the same rate coming out of your sparge tank as you do into your wort kettle. And you should be good to go. But what we're just going to do is we're going to keep going until we get about 5.5 gallons in there, and then we're going to start our brew. See there? Alright, we got everything sparged. We got a nice boil going. And we just added 1.5 ounces of our hops. And when you get it boiling, just check your sides in here. You can see sometimes your hop sediment will get stuck on the side. Just scrape it off with your stir stick so you can get in there, get it in the boil. You don't want it to scorch. But we're gonna let this go. In about 30 minutes into the boil, we're gonna add some cocoa powder and some of this delicious peanut butter powder, and we'll see how that goes. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, we're about 30 minutes into the boil, and as you can see, my propane is almost done. So that's why you always want to make sure you got a backup, because unless that bad boy's completely full, you don't want to be in the middle of your brew and suddenly realize, hey, I'm out of propane, and then you're kind of screwed. But since this is boiling down, I'm gonna add a whole jar of this stuff. I've got 2 jars, but I'm at a whole jar at 30 minutes, and I'll probably add another jar at like 5 minutes out. I'm also gonna add about half of this. It's about an 8-ounce thing of cocoa powder, 100%. Might add about half of that right now, and the rest when we're about 5 minutes out. And then once I actually transfer it over to the secondary fermentation vessel, I'll taste it. If we gotta add more, we'll add more. We'll see how it goes. So let's open this bad boy up here. Pour it in there. Ooh, yeah, you can really smell that peanut butter. It smells pretty good, actually. And all that stuff it's just made out of peanuts. It's like 85% fat-free, so you don't have to worry about all the oils and stuff when you go to brew or when you go to ferment. So I'm just gonna guesstimate here because I'm crazy like that. This is experimental, so it'll be all right. Yeah, a little bit more. Will be about half. Yeah, I'd say that's about half. So we'll go with that. What we're gonna do is stir this up. My propane's like done, man. It's done. I gotta switch out that tank, but I'm gonna mix it up real good, because when you got a good boil going, man, you add your additives and everything, and man, I'll tell you what, it boils right over. So I'm gonna mix that up, and I'll see you back at about 5 minutes out. We'll add the rest. We'll add the rest of our hops, and we'll get ready to cool this bad boy down.